everyone. For those of you that don't know me, this is my third time speaking here. It's a little bit strange because I don't plan very much. I didn't really plan this talk, and it is a combination of my opinions and experiences and things I've observed. So if you disagree, cool, I welcome the challenge, but this is just my opinion. So the idea behind today's talk is the premise that it's never been simpler to contribute automation because we have AI. But does that mean it's simpler? Does that mean we should? And how does it change the jobs that we do in the industries that we work in? I started my career with a computer science degree. I'm a failed dev. I think it's failing upwards. But I was the sort of dev who can't really do what I'm told. If you give me a feature, I'm the person who's asking, what about this? What about this error scenario? What's going to happen in this situation? And that meant my pull requests would balloon, just absolutely explode with all the things that you're not going to need to make features much more complicated. I thought more future-proof. My teams definitely did not like working with me. And so they pushed me down a testing route. The reason I mention this is because my career has always been on the more technical side. I'm very comfortable security. I feel like if I wasn't a software tester, I would have gone down the penetration testing route and tried to social engineer people and yeah, that sort of thing. So I've always done some flavor of automation. And that means the testing that I do in my role is different to somebody who came through a contact center route or a product route or something like that. The way I view AI and automation is different to a lot of people. That also means that I've always had this mindset that I can just learn any tool, any technology, anything like that, because I was taught to. Like, that was the purpose of my degree for me, to show me how to approach new technologies and frameworks and stuff. So what that means is my career is also shaped by this. One of the previous talks I did here was talking about an AI-powered chatbot. It was for Northern Trains, and it was before LLMs became commonplace, and it's natural language processing. It's really simple. It reads your utterance and picks out some key words, and you wouldn't really recognize it as AI today because we take for granted everything that AI can do. So this is the context from which I have and hold my opinions, and is a reason why you might disagree with me. Automation. The reason I'm starting from this is because, again, I think we take for granted what automation is. Automation is just the use of technology to accelerate a manual process, but we use it as a catch-all term for automated testing, where you have that script that goes through a series of steps and asserts against a condition. The reason I mention this is because as we've got AI to speed everything up, we need to remember the foundations and the basics which we're working on. AI used to be this: image classification, object detection, facial recognition, tracking, identifying individuals and things. And AI is still that, but we talk from a place where AI is more LLMs or image classification and processing. It's no longer this scientific educational tool. It's something that we all have. So I remember going back to our foundations and thinking, what are these tools and what are we using them for? AI can be very specialist in labeling scenes and performing specific tasks, and that's what AI is good for. When we talk about automation as a total thing, asking AI to do lots of different specialisms probably means you need to break it apart into individual tasks. When explaining AI to my mum, I describe it like a McDonald's kitchen, because I think she can imagine a McDonald's kitchen. You've got one guy who's flipping burgers all the time. You've got one person whose role is now redundant, taking people's orders and shuffling trays around and things like that. They're very specialist in roles, and that's where AI succeeds. So, should we adopt AI? On the screen, I have a poll, and I'd like to get your opinions of right now what the industry in this room thinks about AI. So the first question is very much just a scale. Where do we land? You should be taken to a Menti link. Sorry?
Are we making up our own answers?
Oh.
I have 5 only 2 are filled in.
Wait a sec. I don't know where my mouse is.
I think it's like a scale. Where you lean, like.
Ah! Do you have this? Oh.
2 options.
Oh, okay. So your first option sounds like that, I guess. And if you scroll down, what?
It's not a presentation unless something goes wrong. It's not.
Okay. Ignore this. Pretend this isn't happening.
I have to go back to the old-fashioned show of hands.
Yeah. So I thought I had, and I did test this, I'm so sorry. I thought I had a 5-point scale where this side of the screen was focus on the craft, and this side of the screen was adopt AI, harness AI, enroll. Given this number line across the room, point. Where do you think you are? Are you all the way over there in adopt AI for everything, or are you over here with focus on the craft? And if you don't know, point to the front, that's the middle. Okay, this group in the back of the room is definitely over here, like slightly adopting AI, but kind of central leaning. This group over here in the front 3 are adopt AI for everything with Steve as well, and Tom, and this group at the front. And there's a lot of people just in this middle band who are all in middle. So that worked out okay. The next thing on this Menti slide, what we can't do, is why. So I am able to identify differences in industries, differences in the use of customer data. Can anybody just shout out to me some little themes as to why we hold those opinions? Because none of those opinions are wrong, they're just different.
So I was sort of in the middle because I think things like Copilot's really good for like removing nitpicky stuff from coding, but I don't think you should put 100% trust in it because I always checked what it spat out and make sure I agree with it and understand what it is. That's why I was sort of in the middle.
Did people at the back hear that, or shall I repeat it? I'm going to assume you heard. Any other opinions? Hi.
Similar opinion that what you're putting into it and what you're putting into it, you need to understand what it's outputting. And if you don't understand what it's outputting, then you shouldn't be using it. And a lot of people, especially at my work, don't tend to understand what they're putting in to be able to see what it's spitting out and see that's right. So I'm very much like, I prefer doing it manual, and it is a case of I do the legwork, then use a little bit of AI maybe to like round the edges, just to make sure it's a little bit nicer. But generally, I don't use it full on because I don't think it gives me the answer that I want, or it doesn't work the same way my brain does. Then I want to test all this, but you're giving me this one answer.
Yeah.
So I'm very much still over here that my brain can output a lot more than what AI can. And I hope it stays like that, otherwise what a job.
And I guess maybe this is why you came to my talk. Go on quickly.
Yes. Sorry. You go. I was going to say, so I'm of the opposite opinion almost, I suppose, where I'd rather it write all of the donkey work for me and then allow me to review it. So like, in the same way that I'd review a merge request, I'm now reviewing an AI merge request and then adding to the fringes of that, where like, I understand business logic and understand nuance that like, it maybe doesn't. So like, allow it to like lay the foundations, and as long as you can understand what you're submitting, there's not really a problem with like fully leaning into it.
Awesome. Ben?
Yeah, so I've been using it for a few months now, and at first I was quite resistant, but all the developers on my team and all the management were very enthusiastic. but now I've learned to embrace it, I am finding it incredibly useful. So now instead of resisting or questioning it, I'm trying to go full in. I've got to the point now where I actually don't want to go back. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't want to write code by hand anymore. I want Claude to do it all for me because I want to do the thinking and I want it to implement for me because I like the thinking and it's better than me at writing the code.
Just-
It's hard to admit.
Just a personal thing. I hate it when AI says it is thinking. It is not. It is processing. It is, pulling in lots of different resources. That word thinking, no, I'm sorry, just a nitpick of mine. I dislike it quite a lot. So given those opinions, does that mean that AI, does it now mean, I can't speak. Yeah, honestly, for anyone in this room that knows me, I am not a morning person. So putting me on at 9:30 in the morning, this is not peak Emily. So given all that, does AI mean now that automation is not difficult? Click. Off. Where's my mouse?
You're absolutely right.
There we go. So this mindset comes from the foundational belief that automation is difficult. And the reason I say this is because there's lots of people in their careers who have resisted automation or recognized the value in the craft and not adopted automation and left that to a certain part of the testing individuals. So what are all the factors that makes automation difficult? We've got test generation. If you speak to your developers, they'll maybe come up with a happy path scenario and an obvious edge case, or the opposite as an error case. But enumerating test cases and thinking of all the different ways that a system can go wrong is a skill. That's part of our testing craft. Then we've got over-automation and test coverage. When you write test cases, it's really easy to think about if you can do something as lots of different types of users, or if you can do something with different shapes of data. But does that test coverage give you value? And are you automating the right thing? If you're new to automation, I'm sorry, but the answer is probably no. Then you've got actually writing the code to automate something, to put these test cases into a code base. Not everyone knows how to do that. When you write a test, especially if it's a front-end test, like an end-to-end user journey or something that's based through the UI, the test can break and require constant maintenance, and that makes automation hard as well. And then you've got features themselves. If something's in an iframe, if something's locked behind a paywall, if you need a certain type of account, is this a good contender for something to be automated? You've got data requirements. You've got when this automation is run and does it give you the feedback that enables continuous delivery? And then finally, management expectations. Automation often gives us a false sense of security that a feature is going to perform as expected. You've all seen this. If the pipeline is green, does that mean you're good to go? No, you're not necessarily automating the right thing. All of this makes automation a very difficult task. So, there's way too many words on this screen, but the reason I've kept the words is so you can refer back to it later. Front-end automation is also difficult. You tend to focus on an overall user journey, which has lots of different integrations, lots of different things. Navigating between accounts and page loads makes it slow, they're hard to maintain. And from a technical perspective, you've got to think about like a locator strategy or making sure that the user journey is actually reflective of what a customer is doing. They can be unreliable. And because of all these factors, they can be hard to fix because you want to make sure that you're representing that user journey, but there's lots of different things that humans do. They scale badly because what needs to be reflected in these end-to-end journeys, and they find bugs too late because they are difficult to write and maintain, so often they're not there as features are being put in front of customers. But it doesn't mean that tests lower down the test pyramid are any better. Unit tests aren't realistic, and although we can use AI to write them, it doesn't mean that the end product is going to work for our customers. They provide limited confidence, they miss bugs, they require complex data. API tests can become really brittle because of where systems are communicating with each other and asserting particular characteristics of the data they return. And again, they don't represent real customer data. So you need something in between the two. So can AI help?
Is that deliberate? Oh. Not fire alarm.
This klaxon sound is from QI, and it's a tester's favorite answer. It depends. Because I don't know the context of what you're trying to automate. I don't know if that easily maps into some high-value end-to-end scenarios. I don't know who in your organization is writing these automated tests or how they get used to enable continuous delivery. What time are we on?
10 minutes.
Okay, so does AI actually help? Test generation. When we're speaking around the room, we know that Claude Code and other tools can produce artifacts that look like our automated tests. So we can probably help with that. In Software Testing Live with Ben, we use the Playwright MCP, and it created us a whole pile of test cases. We still use that human judgment to determine if something should turn into an automated test or not. And all of this is going to be context dependent, context that the AI doesn't have. The output is just trying to sound human or is trying to mimic like things that it's learned from on Stack Overflow and other places. It can help us with test coverage to produce more noise, produce more things. It can help us with that scripting, and it can probably help us with maintenance. But if you go into it not really knowing the type of locators you should be using, the type of assertions that you need to be making that are different from the steps that your automated test needs to go through, all of this doesn't matter. So, what's the industry saying? Welcome to LinkedIn.
Oh, everyone. Oh, don't talk to me about it.
Have you seen this?
Everyone's a playwright expert on LinkedIn.
If you're checking, you're not testing. And if you're testing, you're not developing. If you shift left quality, it becomes everyone's responsibility. And if it's everyone's responsibility, no one's doing it. In my workplace, everyone has been given enterprise Claude. And this means that we have an amount of tokens available to enhance the development process. But do developers want to spend their tokens on testing? And I've only got one AI, and they've got however many AIs. Does it scale the problem? If you are, this one here, if you measure quality, you don't understand quality. And if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. I think this post is hilarious. It's got so many things for you to think about. Does AI help? Do we need test coverage? Are we putting quality into the types of tests that we have? Love that one. This one is from a company called TestCube. AI assistant development gets framed as a productivity miracle. Doubled velocity, less friction, more shipping. AI accelerates how software gets written. It does not reduce the need for testing, and in most cases, it increases the need. They've got a tool they'll sell you to try and help you with this. But it doesn't work. This part of a human engineer understands the why behind a specific implementation. That's what we're trying to put into our test cases. The teams that sustain pace over time are rarely the ones with the fewest constraints. You can only put into automation certain characteristics that you are testing for. My, and probably your job, is to show them the opposite. Deliberate constraints is what makes confidence repeatable. AI doesn't have the context, but we can use it to speed us up if we are deliberate about what we are automating. Claire's talk is now. Some insights. Humans still need to be in the driving seat. More code is being generated than ever, but incident reports aren't going down. Quality has to come first, especially in regulated industries where experimentation is constrained. Your metrics haven't changed, but AI makes them matter more. AI can create a dangerous loop. Scripting is not testing. Testing can include scripting, but what are we automating and what are we using AI for? I genuinely believe that AI can help us in our roles. It can speed us up, it can get more people involved in testing, but we need everybody's mindset in this room to, use your brain, use your collective expertise to understand what testing is and how it enables our software engineering teams. Teaching people how to write a loop matters less than teaching them how to think about what the loop should test. For anyone who's not read Simon's many-part blog posts on all of this, I very much rate it and would encourage you to follow it. Oh, just to go back. The skill was always knowing what to test. A new automation framework, a new AI tool, it doesn't change that. Oh, so just to go back to the start. What is AI good for? Try to think about what AI always was. It was this single role expertise. It was something that, we had on factory floors long before we had in software development team as commonplace. AI and automation doesn't have the context. Automation is designed to take over repetitive tasks to free up humans for more complex testing that machines don't excel at. What AI is good for is the repetitive things that you would outsource to an intern, somebody newer in their career. It doesn't have a brain. With the barrier to creating automated tests lowered by AI, what would you give somebody who is newer? You would use your expertise to guide them, to give them a specific task. And that's how I think we should be using AI. Knowing how to design good tests and frameworks is more valuable than simply knowing how to write code. Does anyone know what I'm going to say? Richard Bradshaw has an analogy, that's the word I'm thinking of, that he makes about a slice of cake. So automation is just one slice of the cake, a very thin, agile vertical, because you don't put everything you want to test into automation. And for that, you shouldn't have an automation strategy, you should have an overarching test strategy. And AI comes into that. It's just a thin segment. AI and automation needs to express value in what is being tested. Please, although it is easier than ever to contribute automated tests using AI, avoid the trap of enumerating test cases which don't give you value. AI and automation can help you to produce more maintainable code. And in fact, something I didn't put on my LinkedIn things is the rage bait we saw online about the page object model being dead. Our code still needs to be maintainable because one day we won't have these tools. Our employers might decide to cut our AI funding, Claude Code might go down for an unknown amount of time, and we will still need to deliver and provide value to our customers. So when that happens, we still need to be able to read the code and understand what it's for. And at the end of the day, it needs to have output that enables humans. You can use AI to produce all the things you want to, but if it's not available to your customers, or if you've written test automation, but that doesn't enable continuous delivery and releases, it has very little value. And with that, when tests fail, because we know that they do, the output of that needs to be digestible. And even if you're using something like the Playwright Test Healer, you need to know how it's healed. So maybe a separation of concern between you can edit the steps of a test but don't edit the assertions, mirroring acceptance criteria and requirements onto test case titles, whatever it is, we need to know what the machines are doing. Because there are plenty of things that AI can't do. What are you doing? No! I had a video and it was all the robots just falling over because they can't do obstacle courses. That's me. Thank you.